Hey, it's the weather. The guy with the big orange hand says hi to you out there. Hello, and yes, thank you. I know that the beard is crooked, but when I moustache it down again for the first time, it will be straightened again. But right now the man is crooked, and here I am with my big thick hands. I can't get the sausage fingers to the point where I can braid properly, especially on small areas. Whatever. This is about a Weihrauch HW 50S, without the F mark. Yeah, the amazement. I took the time to check the database. Yes, there is a public database where you can find a lot of collected serial numbers from air rifles of certain manufacturers, and you can see when the thing was roughly built. So we come out to 1961, and I'm pretty sure it was sometime during 1961. That's why there's no F mark. So I'd say let's get started. Reading out loud again. This is quite a lecture here. We're not here to get all technical or anything, but to entertain. HW50S caliber 4.5. Wow, it really just says 4.5, no .177. Back then it was still made for Germany. What's written here somewhere? What do we have back here? The serial number? Yeah, exactly, it has to come from somewhere. One of the numbers is pretty scratched up, but I looked at it with a magnifying glass, and it's a 3. What looks like a 3 at first glance is actually an 8. Back then it was somehow still hammered in by hand. Then we have 3 strange indentations here. I don't know what they are. I'm also jumping ahead again. In terms of order, first we read out loud and then we get to the wood. So on this side it logically just says incense, made in Germanskaya. A German quality product, wood. Yeah, this stock has been around for the last, wait a minute, 1961, so we're talking about 63 years. Now to the current video. This thing is 63 years old. This thing is older than me. Just 1 year, but still. There are some dents on it. So, it's these countless dents that are in this high gloss finish. Another one has been added to it. No, it isn't. That's all. IKEA quality, you can't hurt yourself on that. Yeah, worn out. That's a good question at the back. Is that painted on later, or is it from the factory? Do you know how on old incense things, the end cap is basically painted black? There's a certain wear and tear, so this thing has really been used. From the other side, it's the same. Then let's take a look at the trigger, and that looks good again. So, the trigger is deeply recessed, really nicely integrated into the wood, so it doesn't press or rattle or anything like that. Very important. One screw is missing, and I don't have the stock here that says yes. Although, I should check my parts bin in a bit. The screw is recessed, so it could be that there's actually just a wood screw here and that the one at the front is the system screw. I can replace a wood screw with just about anything. That's actually quite useful for durability. I'll take a look at that right away, but it's not really crucial right now. 2001. There's a hole in the trigger guard, and that's actually good, because underneath is fine mining. No, I was just about to say Weihrauch. Typical Weihrauch. An adjustment screw. Oh, we love that so much. Adjustable trigger. The trigger itself is apparently made of iron or steel, at least it's solid. We'll try that out right away, then we'll know for sure. On top of that, you have 3 holes. I suspect that at some point it was intended for some kind of mounting, so I can hold on to it, so it doesn't shift due to any jolts and so on. Anyway, it's an 11mm dovetail rail, and it's quite long. Then we have a rear sight, the classic spring sight, which means you can bounce it around here and adjust it up and down with a screw. Definitely an 11mm dovetail rail, and it's quite long. Then we have a rear sight, the classic spring sight, which means you can bounce it around here and adjust it up and down with a screw. Windage adjustment is also possible, and it's click adjustable. Elevation adjustment clicks too. Very nice, they put in the effort. I'll hold this up to the camera as best as I can. I know the camera won't pick it up clearly, but whatever. So it was pretty straightforward, just like the times back then. When you shake air rifles and you hear something rattling, it's always this here, always this cocking lever, the pivot lever. Yeah, then we have a barrel that also has quite a few scratches. By the way, the whole thing is high gloss black. Either this thing was really, really, really well ruined, which speaks for the year of manufacture. Back then, they still did things right. Or someone painted it at some point. Back then, they still did things right. Or someone painted it at some point. But I would say it doesn't actually look like it's painted. And if someone painted it, they did a damn good job. Then we have here a screwed-on front sight, with a tunnel, and as so often, it's prepared for a diopter. This clamp lets you remove inserts to put in a different front sight, and that would probably be advisable here as well. This clamp lets you remove inserts to put in a different front sight, and that would probably be advisable here as well. Can you see? Yes, someone has squeezed something in there. A roof grain that is also sitting crooked. So maybe you should try to get some originals. In general, such an old device, I think, is more suitable for someone who knows about restoration. It still shoots perfectly. But someone who wants something like this and is willing to spend money on it probably wants to make it really nice and hang it on the wall later. And that's why I say, there's really no big problem with the screw. I'll take care of that. All right, now comes the practical test first. When cocking, as I just did while messing around, I'm currently holding it from the top because I'm worried that if this is the stock screw, then I have some serious tensions going on here. I don't want that. So I'm holding this up here to make sure nothing happens while cocking. Open it up. You can really hear it click here, but it's super smooth. You can hardly hear anything from the spring. You can definitely feel that it gets harder towards the back. Nice and smooth at the beginning, and then it gets solid at the back. It also rests well. Then let's try out the trigger. I'm holding it here at the same time. I estimate the take-up is about 2 mm. Then a little scratchy. And then a super smooth trigger. So someone has definitely adjusted that before. And by the way, yes, you can decock the rifle without having to fire it, so to speak. Then here comes another lead slug into the barrel. Speaking of which, I forget every time to keep the seal in place, so the barrel seal definitely needs to be replaced. It's already, how should I put it, flat, pretty flat. Yeah. Maybe it just barely seals, but I think it's due for a replacement. I'll just say this as a so-called expert, which I'm not, once again with a really awkward stance because I'm peering sideways along the barrel. Here, the advantage is as usual. Yeah, great. Coil very, very, very soft. So I assume that this rifle was made in Germany, because I've mentioned a few times that if you have foreign rifles or killer springs in them, huge recoil with a bang, and hardly anything comes out the front. This one shoots super smoothly. Huge pre-shatter with Krabben and hardly anything coming through the front. This one shoots super smoothly. So let's take a look here. The HW50S, the Weihrauch, there's the serial number. Based on the serial number, I was able to determine the production date as 1961. There isn't an EK price, and there isn't a price I would have paid, because it belongs to a viewer. There probably isn't a new price anymore. 2001, and I've written down the muzzle energy here. 400 joules. It's like that again. Sometimes it's 4.7 and sometimes it's 4.2, just all this back and forth. I think there could still be a bit more potential here. Also, just a reminder, we're talking about 1961. There wasn't a 7.5 joule limit, and there really wasn't anything that regular people could use to measure the speed. So, it really doesn't matter how much power was behind it, because the end consumer wouldn't notice anyway. So it could very well be that this is the original spring with the original speed. I don't know. But as I said, that's no big deal for the collector. He'll manage it. So what was the other one? Right, a crosshair target. This one is a bit different from the others. So, yeah, where are they running off to? I probably placed it right next to it again, knowing myself because I'm being so clever as I'm demonstrating here. Yeah, I placed it right next to it. Look, I have to lift it up from behind again. There it is right away. Yes, exactly, there it is. Yeah. I lowered the chair all the way down. That's why there's no bounce here. The table looks visually higher. I'm so tall, I'm almost 2.5 meters tall, and I'm also broad in the shoulders. And that's why I have to lower the chair, so the tables don't look so ridiculously low. So, here we have target with crosshairs in it. Yeah, why is that? It's simple, I mounted scope on it. That's how I always do it. 10 shots, 10 meters, sitting down with a scope, if possible, of course, if there's no mount on it. And then I aligned the scope with the laser that you can stick in the front, and the first shot went there. That's why I crossed it out. And the next ones were already sitting exactly where they were supposed to be after twisting the tube. That's why I said, oh, let's save another target. Well then, let's get to it. When you look at it like this, I have to say I've had a lot of new devices on the table that don't shoot as well as this one. And this thing is 63 years old. My goodness. Well, back then it was still quality. When you look at the old stuff from before 1970 at Airgun, first, because there's no F mark on it, but second, back then quality was just a thing, not like today, where they just threw together something in the factory with long fingers, lanterns, and whatever else, and that ends up on the table. First, because there's no F mark on it, but second, back then quality was just a thing, not like today, where they just threw something together in the factory with long fingers, lanterns, and whatever else, and that ends up on the table. So, that was it. I really have to adjust myself mentally here. Normally, I would always reach for the tablet, but I don't need it anymore because I already wrote the joules down on the paper. In 2001, I read it, and right now I have about 4.5 joules. It could be related to a 60-year-old spring, it could be related to a 60-year-old seal. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Who would buy something like that? I think a collector. I don't think anyone who casually puffs away would buy such an old thing. That would be someone who loves old things. Who makes it nice again. I think that's good too. 1,000. Yeah. I'm completely at a loss again. I always have the feeling that since I can't reach for the tablet anymore, must have forgotten something. Totally strange feeling. You know how it is, right? You set off on vacation and I'm sure I've forgotten something, right? Door key? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it won't anymore. Then I thank you once again, carefully while doing that. What kind of fat screw is that? But it seems to be original. I'll hold it up to the camera again. Huge fat screw here on this side, and on the opposite side. Not quite as fat, but still very fat. But it seems to fit. Interesting. Here, whoever it is, if there are collectors involved, want to know this kind of stuff beforehand. Oh, that's the special edition from Danube. He only had it for a very short time. I won it. A lot of money? Yeah, well, so now I'm intentionally drumming offbeat, despite this weird feeling of having forgotten something. I know now I'm not going to tell you that I'm the guy who has to turn off my camera every single time. Instead, I'm just going to go straight to turning off the video. Thanks for tuning in. We'll probably see each other again soon.